The galaxy had never taken humanity seriously, a small, inconsequential species clinging to a blue planet in a quiet star system, dismissed by the ruling councils of countless civilizations as weak, primitive, and unworthy of consideration. And yet the moment had come when that arrogance would cost them more than they could imagine, for the humans, underestimated for centuries, had quietly observed, learned, and prepared while the galaxy's dominant species reveled in their superiority, convinced that a coordinated strike against Earth and its colonies would be a swift, flawless victory. Fleets of ships bristling with weapons that could annihilate cities and burn worlds in seconds, diplomats speaking of humans as insects to be crushed underfoot, generals smiling at the supposed ease of the campaign. But hidden beneath the surface of this unassuming species was a resolve forged through millennia of adversity, from surviving the harsh conditions of their homeworld to enduring countless conflicts that had honed their ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. And when the first alien fleets arrived at the edge of the solar system, their sensors picked up minimal defenses, rudimentary planetary shields, and what appeared to be primitive military formations. Prompting arrogant laughter across the command channels of the interstellar coalition, they saw Earth as a minor obstacle, a trivial conquest to expand their influence and demonstrate their supremacy. Yet every human involved in the defense, from naval officers aboard orbital platforms to scientists in subterranean research stations, understood the stakes and worked with a singular purpose, not only to survive, but to demonstrate that humanity's perceived weakness was an illusion, as fleets of small, fast-moving strike craft darted between massive alien dreadnoughts. Human engineers activating countermeasures designed to exploit the aliens' overconfidence, targeting critical subsystems with precision strikes. While on Earth, strategic command centers coordinated planetary defenses with algorithms that anticipated enemy movements, deploying electromagnetic pulse arrays that disable the advanced alien sensors, causing confusion and panic among their crews. As the aliens attempted to adapt, humans revealed another layer of their capabilities: cloaked drones capable of infiltrating enemy capital ships, bypassing their most advanced security protocols, and delivering explosive charges directly to vital components, creating chaos and forcing the aliens to fight for survival rather than conquest. Every skirmish demonstrating human adaptability, the ability to improvise under pressure, to turn disadvantage into opportunity. Alien admirals watching in disbelief as centuries of assumed superiority crumbled under the relentless, cunning, and precise actions of a species they had mocked without hesitation. As communication networks were hacked, misinformation seeded into alien command chains, causing friendly fire incidents and mistrust between coalition members. Humans continued to exploit weaknesses that no alien strategist could have anticipated. Simultaneous attacks across multiple fronts overwhelming the alien fleets, their formations breaking apart. The psychological impact as profound as the physical. Alien soldiers beginning to question their leadership and the invincibility of their own technology. While back on Earth, civilians contributed in unexpected ways, designing software predict enemy tactics, optimizing weapon systems for rapid deployment, and coordinating guerrilla-style strikes on alien installations in orbit and on the surface. Every human action a calculated response to the arrogance of the invaders. And as days turned into weeks, the aliens, initially confident, began to realize that humanity was not only surviving but adapting faster than they could comprehend. Every attempt to anticipate human behavior failing, their losses mounting, and with each victory, no matter how small, human morale soared while alien confidence shattered. Commanders who had expected obedience now faced mutiny. Fleets scattered, and the galaxy witnessed the first time that humans, thought to be fragile and insignificant, were in fact a force of unparalleled determination, ingenuity, and resilience, capable of turning the tide against powers that believed themselves untouchable. And as the first alien dreadnought exploded in orbit above Mars, a signal was sent across the galaxy, one that no civilization could ignore. Humanity would not be crushed, and those who underestimated them would pay a price far greater than they could ever have imagined. The consequences of hubris rippling through every council chamber and war room. Every fleet that had sneered at Earth now reeling under the realization that this species, so often dismissed, had revealed their true nature, a combination of strategic brilliance, relentless perseverance, and unexpected technological mastery that ensured their survival and foreshadowed a reckoning the galaxy would never forget. And as the humans continued to coordinate strikes, both from orbit and from hidden bases throughout the solar system, The aliens who had once laughed at them now faced an existential threat unlike any they had encountered. A species underestimated at every turn, now capable of dictating the terms of engagement, forcing surrender or annihilation in a way no one had anticipated. Humanity, proving that what they lacked in size and numbers they more than made up for in courage, intellect, and the unyielding will to survive. And even as the initial wave of battles concluded with staggering losses for the coalition, humans prepared for the next phase, knowing that the galaxy would not forgive their humiliation easily, yet confident that their unity, adaptability, and ingenuity had turned the tide, and that every underestimation, every slight, every mocking word uttered by alien species would now fuel the next stage of conflict where humanity would prove, beyond any doubt, that to crush them was not only impossible, but a grave miscalculation that would echo across the stars for generations to come, a warning that no galactic power could ever afford to ignore. And as the sun rose over Earth's horizon, casting its light across cities and military installations, a quiet resolve settled over humanity, ready to meet the challenges ahead, to strike when necessary, to outthink, outmaneuver, and ultimately outlast any who dared assume that humans could be defeated. Their story just beginning in the vast theater of the cosmos, a story of relentless courage, unexpected brilliance, and the indomitable human spirit that will forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. As the remnants of the initial alien fleets retreated toward the outer systems, licking their wounds and desperately attempting to regroup, humanity did not pause, their scientists and strategists analyzing every captured vessel, every intercepted transmission, turning each loss into an opportunity for improvement, enhancing ship designs, weapon systems, and defensive protocols. Earth's orbital shipyards operating around the clock as engineers and technicians worked tirelessly to deploy new classes of vessels capable of both overwhelming firepower and astonishing speed, while planetary defense grids were upgraded with layers of adaptive shielding and automated drone interceptors that could respond instantaneously to threats. On the front lines, human pilots trained rigorously in simulation and live exercises, mastering tactics that exploited alien behavioral patterns, using decoys, feints, and ambushes to dismantle the already demoralized enemy. And while alien commanders debated, internally, arguing over failed strategies and who was to blame for their catastrophic underestimation, human leaders held councils of their own, composed of military tacticians, political advisors, and scientists, each contributing to a comprehensive understanding of the enemy's weaknesses and the most effective ways to exploit them. And as the humans prepared for the next engagement, a new wave of alien reinforcements arrived, their ships larger, their weaponry more destructive, believing that overwhelming force could finally subdue the stubborn species. Yet the humans, anticipating this move, had prepared contingency plans that integrated cyber warfare, sabotage, and precise tactical strikes, exploiting the predictable arrogance of their adversaries. Human pilots launching coordinated attacks from multiple vectors, bypassing main defenses, infiltrating enemy command ships with stealth drones and boarding teams, and disabling critical systems before the aliens could respond. While simultaneously, Earth's surface-based missile arrays and railgun batteries unleashed devastating barrages on alien formations, scattering their fleets and leaving many ships drifting disabled in orbit. The psychological impact profound as alien crews realized that their technological superiority and numerical advantage meant little against a species that adapted and learned faster than they could comprehend. In communication channels, alien officers began questioning leadership decisions, some even contemplating surrender. As their once unshakable confidence eroded, and back on Earth, civilians continued to play a pivotal role, producing software updates that enhanced targeting systems, coordinating logistics for supply chains that supported fleets on multiple fronts, and developing innovative countermeasures against alien electronic warfare tactics, all under the guidance of military strategists who emphasized flexibility, improvisation, and unity, every human contributing to a growing pattern of dominance that no alien could anticipate. The humans striking with precision and efficiency, demonstrating strategic creativity that forced the aliens into reactive positions, scrambling to respond to attacks they could not predict, as cities across Earth's surface lit up with energy networks coordinating planetary defenses, the combined effect of orbital and surface operations creating a multi-layered network of destruction that alien commanders could not penetrate. And as the battles continued, reports of entire alien divisions surrendering or retreating spread to the galaxy, alien propaganda shattered by undeniable evidence of human prowess. Species that had considered themselves untouchable now forced to reconsider their assumptions. The humans, once dismissed as insignificant, now standing as a formidable force, capable of dictating terms, manipulating battlefield conditions, and outthinking opponents at every turn. And yet, despite the victories, human leaders remained vigilant, understanding that the galaxy would not forgive humiliation and that further attacks were inevitable, preparing not just to defend but to strike preemptively if necessary, ensuring that humanity's rise would be unstoppable. Every maneuver carefully calculated, every resource maximized, and as the alien fleets regrouped, uncertain of how to proceed, humanity's message was clear across the stars. Underestimate us at your own peril, for we are adaptable, relentless, and united. And the galaxy was about to witness a scale of tactical brilliance, courage, and determination that would forever alter the balance of power. A species dismissed as weak now proving that their ingenuity, resilience, and unyielding spirit could overcome any obstacle, defeat any enemy, and survive against seemingly impossible odds. And as Earth's population watched the night sky, knowing that the fate of their world rested on their collective efforts, a sense of quiet confidence permeated the planet. A determination that humanity would endure, prevail, and emerge not only as survivors, but as masters of their destiny. And as the first human-led counteroffensives reached deep into enemy space, capturing strategic outposts and disabling supply lines, the galaxy began to understand that humans were no longer the insignificant species they had mocked, but a rising force whose influence would be impossible to ignore, a species that had learned, adapted, and evolved faster than any adversary could anticipate. And every move, every victory, every act of ingenuity and bravery reinforced the growing realization that humanity's underestimated potential was boundless, and those who had once believed themselves superior now faced the terrifying prospect of being outmaneuvered, outthought, and ultimately defeated by a species they had dared to dismiss. As humanity's momentum grew, the alien coalition scrambled to respond, hastily assembling new strategies and reinforcements. But every plan they devised was anticipated by humans who spent weeks analyzing enemy communication protocols, movement patterns, and tactical doctrines, leveraging their deep understanding of the coalition's overconfidence and rigidity. While on Earth, scientists unveiled a series of breakthrough technologies, including adaptive energy shields capable of dispersing and redirecting enemy fire, high-speed interstellar drones equipped with autonomous targeting systems, and advanced artificial intelligence that could simulate and predict alien maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. These innovations deployed across human fleets allowed them to strike with precision, evade counterattacks, and coordinate multi-pronged offensives that overwhelmed the aliens at every turn, while human admirals and field commanders demonstrated an intuitive grasp of strategy, combining traditional military principles with unconventional tactics, creating traps, ambushes, and diversions that repeatedly forced coalition into disadvantageous engagements. And on the alien homeworlds, disbelief and panic spread as news of repeated defeats and catastrophic losses reached every sector, morale plummeting as even the most disciplined units faltered, their troops unprepared for the cunning, adaptability, and resilience of the humans they had assumed would crumble under pressure. As a result, the aliens began to fracture, rival factions accusing one another of incompetence, with some councils calling for ceasefires or retreats, but humanity pressed forward, exploiting these divisions with targeted strikes, capturing key systems and crippling supply lines, while their diplomatic corps reached out to sympathetic or neutral species, offering alliances and sharing intelligence that further destabilized the coalition, the galaxy slowly realizing that humans were no longer reactive, defensive, or limited, but capable of initiating campaigns, manipulating enemy movements, and forcing their adversaries to fight on unfavorable terms. Every encounter a lesson in human innovation, where improvised tactics, daring maneuvers, and unexpected countermeasures turn apparent weaknesses into decisive advantages, while the humans themselves learn from each engagement, refining their strategies, enhancing coordination between orbital and planetary forces, and seamlessly integrating intelligence gathered from prisoners, spies, and captured technology into actionable plans, as battles raged across multiple star systems simultaneously, showcasing humanity's ability to operate on a scale previously thought impossible for such a young species. And yet amidst the chaos of war, human leaders maintained focus on long-term objectives, balancing the immediate necessity of victory with the broader goal of securing humanity's place in the galaxy, reinforcing colonies, protecting critical infrastructure, and ensuring that no victory would come at the cost of sustainability or overextension, while alien commanders, unable to match the humans' pace of adaptation, were forced into reactive postures, deploying outdated doctrines and rigid formations that the humans exploited repeatedly. Their combined forces of orbital fleets, ground-based artillery, stealth drones, and cyber warfare units, creating a level of operational complexity that the coalition struggled to comprehend. And as key alien ships were captured and studied, humans discovered not only technological secrets, but tactical tendencies, patterns of command decision-making, and even psychological weaknesses, turning every engagement into both a victory and a lesson, a process of cumulative domination that left alien fleets demoralized and indecisive. As the humans' reputation spread across the galaxy, inspiring fear, respect, and caution in ways that had previously been unimaginable for a single planet's population. And while alien leaders debated surrender or retreat, humans prepared their next phase, striking deep into core systems, bypassing heavily defended sectors, disabling critical infrastructure, and demonstrating that their reach and operational intelligence now extended across vast swaths of interstellar space, ensuring that no alien power could challenge their growing dominance without incurring unacceptable losses. The underdog species that had once been dismissed as weak and insignificant now reshaping the political, military, and technological balance of the galaxy with a combination of precision, ingenuity, and relentless determination. And as Earth itself glowed with the coordinated activity of global defenses, shipyards, research stations, and command centers, a clear message resonated across the stars. Humanity had evolved into a force that could not be underestimated, outmatched, or ignored, a species whose unity, creativity, and indomitable will had rewritten the rules of interstellar conflict, leaving the alien coalition scrambling, fractured, and fully aware that the era of human insignificance was over, and the consequences of dismissing them would echo through the galaxy for generations, shaping the destiny of civilizations in ways no one could have foreseen. And every human involved, from the youngest recruits to seasoned commanders, felt the weight of history, knowing that their actions, decisions, and sacrifices were not only defending their species, but forging a legacy that would define humanity's place among the stars, a legacy built on courage, intelligence, and an unyielding refusal to be defeated by those who had once considered them weak. As the war expanded into deeper regions of interstellar space, humanity transitioned from reactive victories to deliberate dominance. Their command structures refined into a unified network that allowed fleets, colonies, and research hubs to operate with near-perfect coordination, while alien powers, once confident in their numerical and technological superiority, found themselves consistently one step behind, their movements predicted, their supply routes intercepted, and their strongest fleets lured into carefully constructed kill zones. Human tacticians exploiting the aliens' reliance on centralized authority by targeting command vessels and communication relays, plunging entire armadas into disarray within moments of engagement, and across contested systems, human forces demonstrate a mastery of layered warfare, combining electronic disruption, long-range precision strikes, and close-quarters engagements that maximize efficiency while minimizing losses, as alien commanders struggled to adapt to an enemy that refused to fight by established rules. And on Earth and its colonies, industrial output surged, not through brute expansion, but through optimization, modular manufacturing, and rapid innovation cycles that allowed new ship variants and weapons platforms to be deployed in weeks rather than years, a pace that left alien intelligence agencies overwhelmed and inaccurate, their assessments outdated almost as soon as they were compiled, and as captured alien officers were interrogated. Humans gained deeper insight into coalition politics, internal rivalries, and fear-driven decision-making, using that knowledge to sow discord, manipulate alliances, and fracture unified responses before they could form, while diplomatic channels carried carefully crafted messages to neutral species, showcasing humanity's restraint when possible and decisiveness when provoked, presenting themselves not as conquerors, but as a power that demanded respect and mutual survival, a narrative that resonated with civilizations who had long feared the coalition's dominance, and as a result, logistical support, intelligence sharing, and covert assistance flowed quietly toward human operations, further tilting the balance. while alien populations, once assured of inevitable victory, began questioning their leaders as reports of human successes leaked despite censorship, unrest spreading across worlds that had never before known defeat. And on the battlefield, human captains demonstrated a willingness to take calculated risks, committing forces in unconventional patterns, sacrificing short-term gains to secure overwhelming long-term advantages. Their decisions informed by predictive models that incorporated not only enemy capabilities, but cultural tendencies and psychological thresholds, allowing humans to break enemy morale as effectively as their fleets. And in one decisive campaign, human forces executed a synchronized strike across multiple systems, disabling shipyards, communication hubs, and fuel depots within hours, paralyzing the coalition's ability to reinforce or resupply frontline fleets, leaving entire task forces stranded and vulnerable, the aftermath revealing a level of strategic foresight that stunned even humanity's allies. And as alien leadership councils convened in crisis, divisions deepened, some factions calling for total war, while others urged withdrawal or negotiation, their indecision contrasting sharply with humanity's unified purpose. And as months passed, the war transformed from a struggle for survival into a redefinition of galactic order, with humans setting terms of engagement, dictating battlefields, and deciding when and where conflicts would occur, their once modest presence now shaping interstellar politics and military doctrine alike. And despite the scale of destruction, human leadership remained disciplined, avoiding unnecessary devastation, focusing instead on dismantling hostile capabilities while preserving systems that could one day support stable relations, a restraint that further distinguished them from the Coalition's earlier campaigns of intimidation and annihilation. And as alien fleets dwindled and their territory contracted, a growing realization took hold across the galaxy that humanity's rise was not a temporary anomaly, but a permanent shift, a species that had learned too quickly, adapted too well, and fought too intelligently to ever again be dismissed. And among the humans themselves, a sober understanding emerged that their victory carried responsibility, that the power they wielded would shape countless futures. And as they prepared for the next phase of the conflict, one that would test not only their military strength but their principles, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era, forged in the fires of underestimation and hardened by the knowledge that survival among the stars required vigilance, unity, and the unwavering resolve to confront any who believed they could crush them, a belief now proven catastrophically wrong. As the alien coalition's outer defenses collapsed, humanity advanced with calculated restraint, choosing precision over excess, understanding that true victory lay not only in battlefield dominance, but in shaping what followed. And within human command circles, long-term projections guided every major decision, balancing military pressure with strategic pauses that forced alien leadership into desperate miscalculations, while human fleets held key junction systems, controlling trade routes, hyperspace corridors, and communication nexuses that effectively placed a tightening grip around the Coalition's remaining strongholds. And in these contested regions, human forces demonstrated an evolving doctrine that emphasized adaptability at every level. Captains empowered to act independently within broad strategic objectives, allowing rapid responses to emerging threats and opportunities that rigid alien hierarchies could not match. And as alien commanders attempted increasingly reckless offensives to break the encirclement, human intelligence units anticipated their moves, deploying decoy fleets, false signaling missions, and staged retreats that lured enemy forces into isolated zones where overwhelming firepower and electronic suppression neutralized them with minimal losses. Each engagement further eroding alien morale and reinforcing the growing perception that humanity was always several steps ahead. While on occupied worlds previously controlled by the Coalition, human forces established provisional administrations focused on stability, infrastructure repair, and humanitarian aid, a deliberate contrast to the Coalition's historical pattern of exploitation. And these actions were not acts of weakness, but strategic investments, winning the cooperation of local populations who provided intelligence, logistical support, and political leverage against their former rulers, accelerating the Coalition's internal collapse. And as news of these developments spread, more neutral species openly aligned with humanity, recognizing a power that combined strength with discipline, resolve with foresight, and the ability to wield force without descending into chaos, while alien leadership councils fractured under the strain. Some factions attempting to negotiate from positions of fear, others advocating for forbidden weapons and total annihilation, debates that paralyzed decision-making and delayed responses until it was too late. And humanity exploited this. Paralysis, launching coordinated strikes that dismantled remaining command structures, seizing data archives, shipyards, and research facilities that further expanded human understanding of alien technology and doctrine. Each captured asset integrated into the ever-growing human strategic framework, and despite the mounting victories, human leaders remained acutely aware of the cost of overconfidence, a lesson learned from their enemy's downfall, enforcing strict operational discipline and continuous review of assumptions to avoid repeating the same fatal errors. And among human crews and soldiers, a shared identity solidified, not rooted in arrogance but in earned confidence, a belief in their collective ability to face the unknown and prevail through cooperation, ingenuity, and relentless effort. And as alien fleets dwindled to scattered remnants, forced into defensive postures around their core worlds, the galaxy watched with a mixture of awe and apprehension, understanding that humanity's ascent was redefining the balance of power in ways no previous conflict had achieved. And as preparations began for the final phase of the war, one that would determine whether the coalition would be dismantled entirely or reshaped into a new order, humanity stood unified, disciplined, and resolute, fully aware that the galaxy was no longer a place where they could afford to be underestimated, and that every action taken now would echo across centuries, shaping a future where the phrase "they were dead wrong" would become a permanent reminder of what happened when an entire civilization chose to dismiss humanity's potential. As the war approached its decisive stage, humanity faced the coalition's final consolidation of power, a desperate convergence of surviving fleets and fortified core systems where alien leadership believed they could still force a stalemate or inflict enough damage to compel negotiations. Yet this final stand only revealed how deeply they had misjudged human resolve and preparation. For months earlier, human intelligence had mapped these systems in exhaustive detail, identifying structural weaknesses, political fault lines, and logistical dependencies that now became the foundation of a coordinated offensive unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. And as human fleets advanced, they did not rush headlong into fortified defenses, but instead executed a slow, methodical isolation strategy, severing hyperspace routes, jamming long-range communications, and targeting energy distribution nodes that powered planetary shields and orbital weapons, leaving alien strongholds intact but increasingly blind, silent, and starved of resources, while cyber units infiltrated legacy control systems embedded deep within alien infrastructure, systems long thought secure, but never designed to withstand the adaptive algorithms and relentless probing of human artificial intelligence. And as these infiltrations progressed, subtle malfunctions began appearing across alien territories. Defense grids cycling unexpectedly, navigation beacons drifting off calibration, and automated factories producing unusable components, small failures that compounded daily, eroding confidence and cohesion among alien defenders. And within these besieged systems, civilian populations felt the pressure of leadership failures, shortages mounting, information tightly controlled, yet rumors spreading faster than censorship could suppress them. And as unrest grew, human psychological operations amplified existing doubts, broadcasting undeniable evidence of coalition defeats, humane treatment of surrendered forces, and the steady advance of human-controlled space, offering a stark contrast between inevitable collapse and the possibility of survival through cooperation. And while alien leaders denounced these messages as deception, their authority weakened with every passing cycle. Commanders hesitant to commit forces that might never be resupplied, soldiers questioning orders that led only to further losses. And as the final offensive began, humanity unleashed a synchronized campaign across multiple core systems, fleets emerging from unexpected vectors, strike groups targeting critical nodes with surgical precision, and ground teams deploying to secure infrastructure rather than destroy it, a deliberate choice that preserved value while stripping the coalition of its ability to wage war. And in space, engagements were swift and decisive. Human ships exploiting superior coordination and predictive targeting to dismantle alien formations before they could respond effectively, while on planetary surfaces, human units neutralized offenses with minimal collateral damage. Their operations focused on control rather than devastation, and as each core system fell, The coalition's capacity to resist collapsed further, a cascading failure driven not by overwhelming destruction, but by the systematic removal of options. And through it all, human leadership maintained strict discipline, reinforcing rules of engagement that emphasize accountability and restraint, understanding that the manner of victory would define humanity's future standing as much as victory itself. And as the last major alien fleet attempted a breakout from encirclement, it was met by layered defenses and coordinated counterattacks that left no avenue of escape. Its surrender broadcast across coalition space in a moment that marked the irreversible end of organized resistance. And as silence settled over battle zones that had once burned with conflict, the galaxy confronted a reality it could no longer deny: that humanity had not only survived but prevailed through strategy, unity, and an unrelenting capacity to learn and adapt, a victory achieved not through reckless annihilation but through deliberate mastery of every dimension of warfare. And as preparations began for the aftermath, the reconstruction, negotiations, and redefinition of interstellar order, humanity stood poised at a crossroads, fully aware that the final lesson of this war was not simply that aliens were dead wrong to think they could crush humans, but that humanity had proven itself capable of shaping the destiny of the galaxy with clarity, discipline, and resolve, a truth that would influence every future encounter among the stars. In the wake of the coalition's collapse, humanity faced a galaxy suspended between fear and uncertainty, the silence after war heavier than the battles that preceded it, and within this fragile moment, human leadership moved deliberately, understanding that power left unchecked could become the very flaw that had doomed their enemies. And so provisional councils were established across reclaimed systems, composed of human administrators alongside local representatives tasked with restoring essential services, stabilizing trade routes, and preventing the kind of desperation that could ignite further conflict, while human fleets maintained a visible but restrained presence, not as occupiers but as guarantors of security, their disciplined conduct reinforcing a narrative of control without cruelty, strength without chaos, and as intelligence units monitored remaining alien factions. It became clear that resistance no longer took the form of fleets and armadas, but of fragmented groups clinging to old ideologies, their influence waning as populations confronted the reality that the coalition's promises of supremacy had been hollow, and humanity addressed this not with relentless force, but with containment, information, and opportunity, offering integration into a new interstellar framework built on shared security and mutual accountability. A framework shaped by the hard lessons of underestimation and unchecked arrogance. And across the galaxy, younger species watched closely, observing how humanity wielded its victory, noting the balance between firmness and restraint. And in this observation, alliances were forged not through coercion, but through trust earned on the battlefield and reinforced in peace. While on Earth, the consequences of the war were deeply felt, memorials honoring those lost standing beside renewed investment in education, exploration, and defense, ensuring that future generations understood both the cost of survival and the responsibility that came with strength. And as humanity integrated alien technologies with its own innovations, a new era of exploration began, one no longer driven by fear of annihilation, but by cautious ambition, expanding knowledge, securing distant systems, and establishing protocols designed to prevent any single power from dominating unchecked. And yet, beneath the outward calm, human strategists remained vigilant, aware that history favored those who prepared even in times of peace, continuously refining doctrines, updating defenses, and studying the cultural and political dynamics of the galaxy to anticipate challenges before they emerged. And among alien populations, a reluctant respect grew, born not of admiration, but of undeniable reality, that humans had achieved what no other species had, defeating a dominant coalition not through overwhelming numbers, but through adaptability, unity, and relentless learning. And as stories of the war spread, retold across countless worlds, the phrase "they were dead wrong" took on new meaning, no longer just a reflection of failed invasion, but a warning embedded into galactic consciousness, a reminder that assumptions could be fatal, and that humanity's greatest strength lay not in any single weapon or fleet, but in its capacity to evolve under pressure. And as diplomatic envoys traveled to worlds that had once voted for Earth's destruction, now seeking partnership, the balance of power shifted from fear-driven dominance to cautious cooperation, a fragile but meaningful step toward a more stable order. And while scars of the conflict would endure for generations, shaping policy, culture, and collective memory, humanity stood resolute, aware that their survival had transformed them into stewards of a new era, one where vigilance, humility, and preparedness would determine whether the galaxy learned from its mistakes or repeated them. And as the stars, once filled with warships, now carried vessels of trade, diplomacy, and exploration, the final truth became impossible to ignore: that the attempt to crush humanity had not only failed, but had forged a species capable of guiding the future of the galaxy, whether others were ready for it or not. As the new interstellar order settled into place, the full weight of what had occurred became clear across the galaxy, not as a sudden revelation, but as a slow, undeniable shift in how every civilization viewed humanity and itself. Councils that once dismissed Earth now studied human history in detail, tracing the pattern that had led to this outcome: a species shaped by constant struggle, internal conflict, environmental hardship, and relentless competition, realizing too late that these pressures had forged adaptability, creativity, and resilience unmatched by any unified empire. And in this realization, fear gave way to caution, caution to reluctant respect, and respect to a careful recalibration of galactic norms. Treaties rewritten with humanity at the center, not as tyrants, but as a standard by which power was now measured, and human representatives made their position clear in every negotiation. That dominance was not their objective, but survival with dignity, security, through balance, and preparedness against future threats, a stance that resonated deeply with species long overshadowed by the coalition's rigid hierarchy. While on Earth, generations looked skyward with changed understanding of their place in the universe, no longer isolated or insignificant, but undeniably consequential, the war becoming a defining chapter taught in schools, studied in academies, and remembered not as a story of conquest, but as proof that unity and adaptability could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. And within the human military, doctrines evolve away from constant expansion towards strategic readiness, rapid response, and collective defense, ensuring that the mistakes of complacency would never take root, while exploration fleets ventured into previously unreachable regions, not with arrogance, but with caution shaped by experience. And among alien worlds, the phrase "they were dead wrong" became a quiet acknowledgement, spoken in private chambers and historical records, a summary of a catastrophic miscalculation that had reshaped the destiny of countless civilizations. And over time, resentment faded into acceptance, then into cooperation. As trade routes reopened, joint research initiatives emerged, and shared security frameworks stabilized regions once defined by fear. And those scars remained both physical and cultural. They served as reminders rather than open wounds, guiding decisions with hard-earned wisdom. And humanity, fully aware that peace was never permanent, remained vigilant without being paranoid, strong without being cruel, adapted without being reckless. Their greatest weapon not fleets or firepower, but the mindset that carried them through extinction-level threat into survival and influence. And as decades passed and the war receded into history, its lesson endured across the stars: that underestimation was not a harmless error but a dangerous arrogance, and that humanity, when cornered, did not collapse, did not submit, and did not fade quietly, but learned, adapted, and rose with determination that reshaped the galaxy itself, leaving behind a simple, unchangeable truth etched into interstellar memory forever: that when aliens thought they could crush humans, they were dead wrong.